Yeah. They were going to replace me with him, but now they decided to keep me on because they realized I'm not getting paid a dime.
And we don't have to change his batteries, just his diapers.
Oh, well. Poop happens. Okay, another thing of off of my chest and out of my mind. You know.
Okay, just so you know, that's called chewing the scenery, you ham.
Well, anyway, the White House has recently made those bump stocks illegal. That was a way where you could make your rifle fire faster. Say that 3 times fast. And anyway, they did that, but they knew that people could still move their trigger fingers. The only thing is the leftists, they didn't realize how fast you can move your trigger finger. Well, just think about it, how fast you're going to do it. See, and you can move your trigger finger pretty fast. So what we need to do to stop down on these gun crimes is we need to license trigger fingers. And I guess the French did it first, so we'll just follow in them. They are civilized, The French would cut the trigger finger off of every Englishman before they released him. And that would be good, because then they couldn't do all this shooting real quick like that. And the French, the English, when whenever they'd fight the French, they'd go like this. And everybody thought that's what evolved into one finger. But they're showing them they got 2 fingers.
I think
those bow and arrows were assault bow and arrows.
The preceding was our example of you can't fix stupid, but ignorance is a lifestyle choice.
Yeah, and as long as you're happy, you're doing what you're supposed to.
Well, I always figured that, smile, make everybody wonder what you're up to.
Well, I just figure smile, be happy, enjoy it. Because, tomorrow I'm going to be in the locker room of life, and I'm going to be discussing, well, you take off your earth suit, and you got to go in the showers for your spirits and all that. You talk about what you done in the world, and, you want to have...
John, it just amazes me how you've put all these facts into this great big pot, stir them all around. Some of them link up, some don't. Then you just throw your hand in there, pull one out, and you say some. And the worst part about it is I know what you're talking about, and that scares me more than you'll ever know.
Well, you gotta, it's more important to have fun than it is to be right.
What was the real phrase? Was it Will Rogers or Mark Twain said something about it's better to be something than it is to be right?
Yeah, I remember half the phrase, but I don't remember the word.
I've never been very close to right, so.
Yeah. Well, I've been half right for a long time, and now I just decided to have fun and smile and be silly.
Okay, I think I'm going to talk for a little while.
Yeah, you talk
while
for a
your
while.
Lips catch up with everything else.
With my mind.
Okay, now, and this, I'm sure this somehow is related to the recent government shutdown with 2 silly little childlike people having a recess yard spat. Baltimore, Maryland. Now, isn't that right next to Washington, D.C.? I think so. Hey, millennials, Google it. The state's attorney in the city will no longer prosecute any marijuana possession cases, regardless of the quantity of the drug or an individual's prior criminal record, authorities say. Do you think maybe that had something to do with the length of the recent shutdown? Now, along with this, in a related story, I saw where so many people from Colorado are moving to Maryland because the weather's better.
Yeah, And I think really what they should do is they should get a great big semi-truck and fill it up with marijuana and just drive it around and roll up the door and be selling that stuff right out the back door because the cops aren't going to arrest them.
Well, it's funny you mentioned a great big semi truck. At one time, I knew a couple guys that were truckers. One would load a semi in Colorado with Coors. The other one would load a semi here.
He likes beer, huh? You mentioned beer and he's going.
Yeah. Anyway, they would meet at a halfway point between Detroit and Colorado, switch trailers, and then come back. And I used to think it was so funny because do you remember how bad Stroh's tasted? I mean, this is like Stroh's and Goebbels is what you bought when you didn't have a lot of money left over. And Coors, to me, Coors wasn't much better. I know some people like it, and that's fine.
Well, it's advertising. The people in Michigan were trained that Coors was the best beer because they got mountains where they brew it. And the way we convince them people in the mountains is that Stroh's is a better beer because we got Great Lakes. Just look at them Great Lakes while you're drinking the beer, and you'll feel so much better.
Well, every time somebody talks about water and beer, I remember the old Busch beer. And if you look very carefully, it's so just beautiful. It's brewed with mountain stream water. And in the background, you can see a horse standing in the water. And you know what he was doing.
Well, the other thing I always found out about Busch beer is it was so salty. It was the first beer I'd ever drunk. And I was like, yeah, I didn't drink it, I drunk. And it was so salty, it would just, I could hardly drink that stuff. But when I took, if you want to learn to love a beer, you take the factory tour. Because just walking by and seeing the barley and the malt and smelling all the nice smells, and then when they give you a free beer at the end, it tastes good regardless of who made it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I did that years ago, and I forget what brand it was, but all I remember is that place stunk so bad because we got a special tour. But that place stunk so bad and my head hurt so bad from all the stuff in the air, I never drank that beer again, ever.
I remember going to Stroh's with a couple of friends, Noel Rendelman and my brother. And we went there, and it might have been Leo Slatton, too. And we went there, and we drank that Stroh's beer. And I went there, and I didn't eat a lot because I wanted to have room for the beer. It was free, yeah, see, And yeah, I did get a slight headache, and I thought it was probably from not eating. It wasn't from the beer. I know that for a fact, because beer's good for you. It's that food that's bad for you.
I got a quick question. Out of those three guys you mentioned, are any of them up for parole yet?
Well, my brother will never get out on parole. He'll never. He's up for life. Well, the other guys, yeah. They're out. They're out of the slammer now.
Well, since this is a cable show, we can't proselytize isn't the right word, but maybe we better move on from the beer thing. Everybody say, "Oh, you're trying to advertise beer drinking." No, I'm not. I'm advertising enjoying yourself and have a little fun. That's all.
Oh, well, here I'll correct it for you now. Guess what? I don't drink beer anymore. I don't drink wine anymore. I don't drink alcoholic spirits anymore. Because I've only got about 10 brain cells left, and I get really goofy really fast, and I just sit there like this.
Yes, he does, folks. That's usually how he is when I first see him. I check the batteries, wind the key a little bit, and all of a sudden, hey, John's awake again.
Yeah, I quit drinking beer. I was just drinking it to numb, and the thing about numbing is if you numb, then you won't have good stories to tell, and you won't, you need to experience the good things and the bad things in life so you can tell them to each other.
Well, another thing is, John, if you drink too much beer, you'll be in the stories, but you won't remember them.
Yeah, I'll be in the stories, and I'll just have one character, I won't be able to do more than one role. I'll just be the guy who sits at the table and drools.
Well, sounds like one of my family reunions. So let's do. There was another one here that I thought was really, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Spent a lot of time out there, a couple years, as a matter of fact. Glad I'm not there now. Federal fishing managers are beginning the process of determining how the nation's harvest of wild fish has been affected by the government shutdown. The New England Fishery Management Council is meeting this week in Portsmouth. Their theory that they're working on is that with Washington shut down, there was not so much hot air going into the environment, and it significantly slowed the global warming.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Washington's good for some things, though, but the hot air is one of them.
There was another one I'm looking for here. It's quite interesting. What was the city? I read it to you that they're actually using GPS resources to track animal excrement. Here we go. Charleston, South Carolina, another state that's not that far from Washington, D.C. Are you sensing a pattern here in my comments? The city is now testing out GPS technology to track waste left on city streets by carriage horses and mules. I don't understand, John, but haven't they figured out that we have automobiles that don't do that?
I think I got a brother down there in the government. But really, they're figuring that to track the horse waste and stuff. Well, they should use that GPS to track the human waste up in San Francisco. Because they got a lot of human waste on the sidewalks and stuff. And the city council isn't real happy about it. But the city council needs to be a proactive thinker. They need to take those homeless.
Okay, again, you're going down the wrong rabbit hole there, John. Well, I've been in San Francisco. Actually, never had to buy myself a meal while I was there. Friendliest people in the world. But I don't know what in the world you're talking about. That was a pretty little city. Really was. The only funny thing is, now here's a fun fact for you. BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit, when they totally redid it and rehabbed it and everything back in, I think it was the late 70s, somebody, again, with too much time on his hands, sat down and figured out that they could have bought every single citizen in the city a brand new economy car for the price of the rapid transit system.
Yeah, but the guys who own the rapid transit system wouldn't have made as much money.
And they were also in the city government.
Yeah, well, there's got to be a benefit for being in city government. I mean, it used to be you could just get all the babes, if you were in city government, And
it's funny you mentioned that because I just saw something else recently. It was on the news this morning on television. There is like 180,000, an unreal amount of money that nobody knows where it went, that was supposed to have been spent renovating a classic a library in Detroit. But it was a classic library, blah, blah, blah. Can't think of the word I want. It's one of those things protected by the federal government, and I don't mean the seagulls.
Historical.
Thank you. Historical building. We'll talk about the seagulls some other time. But and if you watch Canadian TV, Jean Chrétien, $700 million that just nobody knows where it went.
That's amazing. I just wish that I could help them lose some money.
I tell you what, if they'd asked me to help them, I'd help them look for it. But if I found it, I wouldn't tell nobody.
Well, I'd rather help lose the money. Just give it to me to take home, and I'll keep it safe. And if I bring $1 million back less tomorrow morning, don't worry about what happened to it.
That's what. Yeah, you're right. There was one other thing I want to mention just before I forget, and then we're going to go on another ramble. Chicago, Illinois. Police are reporting gunpoint robberies targeting people wearing pricey Canada Goose jackets as temperatures plunge. People, put the jacket in the closet, shut and lock the door, and stay the heck home.
Yeah, or you could do like some of those mobster movies. you just got a small gun and you hold it in your pocket, and it looks like your hands are there. Somebody pulls out a gun and says, "Give me your gun, your coat," and you just pull the trigger, kaboom, And well, I guess that'd ruin your coat though. To put a hole in it, I guess that wouldn't be good.
Well, you remember?
Nice.
They made a movie about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
What would they call this? The Chicago Canada Goose?
Yeah, get your goose cooked.
I wonder about people. I really wonder about people. Let's move on. We just got to move it. This is.
Well, you want to hear?
Yeah, let's hit another.
Here's one about the Highway to Heaven, or Highway to Hell, if you like that rock song. The telephone company was replacing above-ground telephone lines with buried lines. In one sparsely populated farming area, if lines crossed a county road, they would dig a trench halfway across so rural traffic could continue through. Then they would fill in the trench and dig a trench on the other side. One morning, local farmers called the sheriff to report a smashed-up truck. Inside were two ranch hands who were last seen the previous night, heading home after last call.
I think I see where this is going.
You see, on their way to the bars, the men had decided to play a prank. They stopped their pickup and moved the flashing warning lights from the trench side to the good side of the country road. Crime scene analysis later confirmed that they were the culprits who moved the flashing stands. Investigations also revealed at the time of the accident they were driving at an excessive speed with an impressive amount of alcohol in their system. No crime scene analysis is capable of determining whether the ranch hands forgot their prank or chose to see what would happen if they hit the trench at a high rate of speed in the middle of the night. So again, that's the highway to heaven, I guess. If you go there while you're drunk, it's a highway to heaven, I guess.
Well, I don't know if there's ever a song with this title, but there should be. Karma Gonna Get You.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time I ever heard about a karma was Karma Sutra. And I just thought that meant I did something good and I was going to get laid.
Well, I'm sorry, people. I just keep thinking about the fact that if you believe in like karma and you believe in reincarnation and all that stuff, that means we're all just here. We're just rehearsing. This isn't even the real show, man. We're just like we're waiting in the back in the wings. It's a dress rehearsal, and it don't really matter.
Yeah. Well, it does matter. You got to have fun. And there's one, everybody else talks about the 10 commandments. No, you only got one commandment. It's be good for goodness sake.
I thought that was the Santa Claus phrase.
Yeah, that's the religion I like the most, or call it a philosophy, because I like a philosophy where the good guy gives me some presents,
Well, if you believe in that, does that mean you're going to give me a present?
Oh, darn.
I can tell you what I'd like.
I didn't figure that out. I'm not so sure I agree with that now.
You've heard of the expression give and take, right? Well, you give and I'll take. You even said that in an earlier show.
Oh, darn. I hosted by my own petard.
I had a petard once. Nice little four-door, kind of a lemon yellow. and if you folks don't follow us, too bad for you.
Oh, boy. I'll tell you, I'm glad that robot never chokes on his oil when he's giving himself an oil change.
Well, let's see just how bad he is. Oh. There we go.
And there, now he has a curtain for his stage. And a crazy stage hand.
Enough of that. I'm afraid people are going to realize he's the smart one of the bunch.
Yeah, and he's going to start asking for
for a paycheck,
for star status on this show.
Yeah, he's going to start complaining about he wants his name above the
Top
credits.
billing, yeah. Yeah, he will.
Not as long as I can pull his batteries.
Well, now pulling his batteries, I don't know, that sounds like, remember people were pulling a leg and they were pulling a prank and now you're pulling his batteries. I don't know. That doesn't quite sound right.
And again, shall we move on?
Okay, I'll give you another Darwin. Another one of my friends who loved to play with electricity. A 23-year-old man with various body piercings decided to have some fun at work. He wondered, what would it feel like to connect the electronic control tester to my chest piercings? Several co-workers tried to convince him that it was a bad idea to wire himself up to the electronic device, but he ignored their pleas. He proceeded to clip 2 alligator chests to his metal nipple piercings, one on each side, and hit the test button. His co-workers were still trying to revive him with CPR and rescue breathing when police and rescue personnel arrived. They were not successful. I wouldn't even try this with my pierced earrings. Well, that'd even be worse, run electricity through your brain. You might wind up turning out like me, and you wouldn't want to do that now, would you?
Either that with that big hollow space in there, all you hear is gong.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. This is... See, this is one of those things where, this is why a lot of places will only allow you to work so many hours in a day. So, because this is the way you get if you've been at things for too long.
Oh, yeah. But you got to enjoy it, bud. Because there's one in one of these years or decades, I'm going to be pushing up the lawn, And so enjoy it while you can.
Well, you know what? Somebody said to me once, you can't take it with you. And you know what I said? I said, then I ain't going.
Yeah. Oh, God.
By the way, and if anybody plans on going, you can leave me your stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, because you leave it to him and I'll wind up trying to get my measly, stingy hands on it.
Oh, I'll share. No problem.
Yeah, well, good. You got some more of them, or should I give you one more?
Well, you know
Darwin.
What? Give us a Darwin. I've got a few things left here that I want to go over again because.
Okay.
Well, here's one, real quick. Salt Lake City, Utah. Spent a lot of time out in that Utah, Idaho area. Mormons will account for nearly 90% of the state legislature this season. Well, duh, it's because they have multiple wives and multiple kids, so who the heck's going to vote for anybody but a Mormon? I'll vote for Dad. There's 12 votes right there.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, I forgot about the 6 moms, too.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Wait a minute. One other thing, then I'll shut up.
Sure.
I'm not making fun of you folks. I'm envious.
It sounds good having 4 wives or 6 wives or something like that. But you know what? Let's be honest. I don't think I'm man enough to take care of 6 women. I think they'd all gang up on me and they'd have me working 24 hours a day, and I'd never get any time to sit home.
See, you have to know the secret. You wouldn't have 4 wives. You always have an odd number. That way, at least one of the wives will side with you no matter what the issue is.
Oh, yeah. So 4 wives is a no-no. 3 or 5, that's the sweet number, bud. Or 1, odd numbers. Well, I got an odd wife, Oh, I didn't mean it that way.
And she's got an odd husband, too.
I didn't mean it that way, honey. Please don't be watching the show this week.
Don't worry, nobody does. Let's go with that Darwin for. Believe it or not, we're almost out of time. Shut up.
The title to this Darwin Award is Boner. A 50-year-old man was bird hunting in upstate New York with his buddies when his faithful canine companion, faithful, all right, they stopped for a smoke and his dog found a deer bone. The man tried to take the bone away, but like any right-thinking dog, the dog would not relinquish its treasure. He stayed just out of reach. Frustrated with this blatant show of disobedience, you know, we all are upset when people disobey us. And my wife really gets upset when I disobey her too, so I can understand it. Anyway, the blatant show of disobedience, the man grabbed his loaded shotgun by the muzzle and began wielding it like a club. Each time he swung it, the dog dodged. Suddenly, the club struck the ground and fired, shooting the man in the abdomen. He was airlifted to a nearby hospital where he died from his injuries. He did regain consciousness long enough to confirm this account to police. Otherwise, his poor friends might now be under suspicion. At least he didn't hit the dog. Peter will be proud about that. No animals were injured. God, and they called it Boner. I gave you a switch title there. You thought I was talking about something else, didn't you?
No, all I could think about is how, not so much anymore, but at one time in the 60s and 70s, people would give their dogs really bad names. You know, so that every time they call the dog to come in, you know, they could offend somebody. Like I knew more than one person named their dog Pig. I knew people that did. I knew one guy that named his dog after his ex-wife. He loved the dog, but not the ex-wife.
Yeah, well, that's a real challenge to love an ex-wife. I mean, because if you really loved her, you'd have stayed married, you know.
Well, I was a little surprised. They both had long red hair and real long noses. You know.
Well, I don't. Yeah. I'm just doing good. I found a good wife who can tolerate me and will tolerate my sense of humor, should I say? And so I'm doing all right.
I think what she tolerates is your lack of sense of humor.
Yeah, lack of common sense too.
Now, it's funny, they say that a prophet is without honor in his own country, and basically they mean that nobody listens to him.
Yeah.
That's like, my wife does not think I'm funny. Of course, probably nobody else does either. But that doesn't mean she's right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, every now and then my wife says to me, good one, but I'm not sure if she's just throwing me a bone and that was a charity laugh, you know.
Well, if I ever got, I'd know what it was. It would be like, good dog, good dog.
Yeah, you know, if I didn't get charity laughs, I wouldn't get any at all, guys. So keep them coming.
Anyway, it's just about time. I have got to play with this a little bit more. This thing is so much fun.